Chapter 3, Norms, Roles, Cohesion, and Groupthink. What does all this mean? Well, norms are the reason that they define the nature of the relationship. Whether it be a couple, who does the housework, who does the yard work, or an organization like Alcoholics Anonymous. They establish accepted behavior. You're expected to be there on time every week or every month, whatever your meetings are. And they represent agreed upon and shared values and beliefs. I mentioned before I'm in Rotary. I love Rotary. There's a great camaraderie there. But they expect you there every week. And if you aren't there every week, you better have a good reason. And if you don't have a good reason, you better do a makeup. Because that's just what they expect. And I'll talk about some more of their norms as we go on. Now, there's a couple of different types of norms or roles, norms in an organization. There's crucial norms, which are essential to the operation. If you're in a group like you are, and by the way, I will be posting assigned group members probably Monday or today. If you are in a group and you have certain responsibilities, let's say that your group is supposed to meet every Thursday at 5 o'clock, but you're never there Thursday at 5 o'clock. Sometimes you're there at 5:30. Sometimes you get a call and can't make it. Other times it's 5:15. The group can't operate not knowing if you're going to be there at this specified time. And then there's peripheral, non-essential norms. For example, Rotary, I mentioned before, I wear a suit when I go to Rotary. To me, that's the way I should dress. A lot of guys, been there a lot longer than I have a lot more money than I do. They'll be there in a polo shirt and blue jeans. Well, the norm is you're expected to dress up. But nobody really says what up is. So I guess as long as you don't show up in a tank top and flip-flops and shorts, you'll probably be okay. Sometimes there are written rules. One of the written rules they have in Rotary is you call everybody the first name. It's because we want to all be on an equal basis. And sometimes they're implicit or informal expectations. As I mentioned earlier, they expect us to be there every week. But there's a lot of times people come in, sign in, get what their lunch, and then disappear. They realize that the world is not a vacuum, that once you enter Rotary, everything else stays away. So you're expected to be there all the time, but if you're not there the whole time to listen to the speaker and everything else, you made the attempt. You came there. So they're okay with that. Norms are based on societal norms, shall we say. And they're rapidly changing because of diversity, which is a good thing. I use this as an example. When I teach, there's a test called the MMPI, the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. And what they did was they took 600 something questions and they created this multiple choice test to give to people back in the 1940s or something like that, or 50s. And they would tell if they would identify your personality for psychological reasons. I took it and it said that I was anti-authoritarian because I didn't like authority. They finally then they used this one test for everybody. And then it actually left the United States and went all over the world. So the whole world was basing their norms on this test. Well, let me tell you something about that test. It was created in the 1950s, like I said, And it was created in Minnesota, and it was created at a veterans hospital. So do you know what their subject group of people was that created the norms for everybody? A whole bunch of old white men. Well, in early 2000s, they redid the test, but this time they actually got a subsample of the United States of America population based on the census. So if they had 1,000 people, and the census said out of every 1,000 there was 5 black men, 4 black women, 6 Caucasian men, 4 Asian women, whatever the census said, and then they gave them a test, and they created a new baseline. So what you need to be aware of is when you're dealing with norms, a lot of times they are based on a certain social economic group, and you may not meet those norms. Now, what happens when you don't meet the norms? Um, I didn't really, nothing happened to me when they said that I was anti-authoritarian. But a lot of times, if you're a member of a group and you violate the norms, you can be socially sanctioned. You could pay the punishment, you pay the price for it. Um, and it goes back to the crucial and peripheral. If it's a crucial norm, you're probably going to pay the price. If it's peripheral, they'll probably look the other way. Um, what types of roles? Roles are tasks and social emotional roles. The roles that each group has to have somebody perform. Um, Initiating. Who's calling the meeting to order? Who's calling on people about stuff? You want people to elaborate. Somebody do the coordinating. You're going to have to do some coordinating in your group because you're not going to meet together. You're going to be meeting virtually, except for when you do your group presentation. You will have to um, agree upon a time during a certain week to Zoom with me and give me your presentation. Let's see, what else are there? Summarizing. Somebody generally summarizes what's going on. Recording. You have a meeting of an organization. Somebody's always taking notes. Evaluating it. What decision are we making? Why are we making it? You have people opinion giving. Well, in my opinion, we ought to do so and so. You have somebody else clarifying. You try to get consensus between the group. All those are task roles in a group. Social, emotional rules are maintenance, encouraging. You need to have a cheerleader in the group. I'm not saying sis boom rah rah. I'm saying you need to have somebody that's positive and supporting, that helps create harmony. A lot of times you're going to have some group members that don't get along, especially if it's not a volunteer group. And you need to have somebody that's the peacemaker, and you have to have somebody that's a gatekeeper. When you get together and you're in your group and you're all chatting, a lot of times it drifts off topic, goes somewhere else, and turns more into a BS session than an actual meeting. So you need somebody gatekeeping. You need somebody to observe the process and make sure that we're following along. When I became the president of the National Association of Blind Veterans, I've been in meetings forever. But there's something called Robert's Rules of Procedure. And by never being in charge of anything, I just went along with what they did. But I realized that there's certain things I have to do in a certain sequence. If somebody makes a motion, I have to ask for a second. Then I have to say, is there any discussion? And I would forget those sometimes. And people would, observing the process, would keep me straight. Say, no, Vern, you have to call for a second. No, Vern, you have to do so and so. So you have people testing the proposed procedure. Tension relieving. Tension relieving is very important. A lot of times you're going to get heated about something. and you need to have somebody that can calm everybody down. So, the function. The function of the roles provide greater access to resources. The function of a group is I know a lot of people and I can do a lot of things. But if I have a group of people, then I have some friends that own restaurants. I don't have any friends that own restaurants, but I have friends that have friends that own restaurants. So if we need a place to meet, maybe they can talk to their friend. I have friends that know business owners. If we're doing a fundraiser and we're trying to collect door prizes, I can have my cohorts talk to their friends. So it gives you greater access to resources where you're allowed to go in more than one direction. It increases and gives me a greater sense of involvement if you're in a group and you have these great diversity and things are going on. Now, cohesion of a group is kind of tricky at times, and it depends on a couple of different things. Size, similarity, satisfaction. If you have a small group and you're all focused on the same thing and you get along, you're similar to one another, you can generally be a cohesive unit, especially if you've been successful in the past. But sometimes if you have a large group and you have a couple of type A personalities in there that are trying to take it different directions, it can really affect the cohesion of the group. You have people in a group that just go along for the ride. Somebody in your group in this class is going to have the attitude, C's get degrees. It may be all of you. It may be one of you. It may be a couple of you. And you're also going to have the type, I got to get an A, got to get an A, got to get an A. So how is that going to work? Sometimes the type A personality sees the other people as loafing. The other ones say, well, I'm going to get my degree one way or the other, so why should I kill myself to do this? It creates power struggles at times. It creates bias. And oftentimes deception and discrimination. You discriminate because you think somebody's being lazy. It doesn't have to be a racial or gender thing. You can be deceptive because, yeah, I'll get it done. I'm working on it right now. I'll get it to you by Friday. And you may not even started it yet. But that's part of the group process. And having that communication is going to affect how you operate it, whether you have communication or not. Consequences of a group can be positive or negative. And you can work together and have a great group and have a great outcome, or you can fight each other every step of the way, have a lousy group, and have a lousy outcome. Now, there's something I need to warn you about. It's called groupthink, and it's on page 52 in your book, I believe. And groupthink, there's got a couple of big charts in there. You can understand it better maybe by looking at that. But let me give it to you in a nutshell. In a nutshell, groupthink is a bunch of people feeling invulnerable. They collectively rationalize the same thing. They believe they're on the moral high ground. They believe everybody's against them, or many people are against them. If you don't agree with it, they put pressure on you. Oh no, you got to agree. A lot of it is majority rules. So okay, I don't agree with that. But if I say that, and the group is leaning toward groupthink, I'm going to catch crap for not agreeing with it. Self-censorship. If I don't agree with what's going on, okay. I'm not going to speak my mind. And that causes problems. Shared illusion of unanimity. Unanimity. I'll say it right in a minute. We're all in agreement on this. One thing that I can remember, and I can remember it because at one time I wanted to be part of the space program. I wanted to be an astronaut. And the Army told me to find a new job, so I was applying for it. But for some odd reason, they didn't want a blind guy. I don't know. I ain't figured that out yet. Maybe I should have sued them for discrimination. Nah. Anyway, but the space shuttle Challenger sat on the pad and didn't go because of weather. Sat on the pad and didn't go because of this. Sat on the pad and didn't go for that. They finally decided that they were going to go for it, and they went for it. But there was a couple of people that said, maybe we shouldn't do this. Well, the press is against us. People think we're idiots because we can't launch a da-da-da-da. And there's nothing going to happen because, nothing has ever happened before. And, this is NASA. And something bad happened. And a lot of researchers have brought it back to groupthink was one of the reasons something bad happened. Because they did not look at all the options. They did not honestly open up. They were self-censoring themselves. If somebody was dissenting, they were given hell for it, so they started self-censoring. They had this collective rationalization that nothing can go wrong because we're NASA. So that's my favorite example of it. And I spend much more time in class on it, but these videos are bad enough as they are. So, group chapter 3, norms and roles, and I'm going to do another video on chapter 4. Don't forget to do your discussion this week. Look for your groups and start making contact this week. I will post the speaker's notes. I will post in the outline or the PowerPoints from the publisher for your use. I'll see you in chapter 4. One of these days, I might actually get to see you. Y'all have a good day. Bye.